Is your two men on here still, Tom?
Under the sanitation department now. Right there on the board.
They're not in the water
No, they're on, the two I had, the two that Tommy had were a different department, the two I had were sanitation on.
sanitation on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we're showing a $4,500. Okay.
So now
And
we
we
just,
also, there was one other change we did make, if you go down and look at 533-6300 improvements under capital. Your water main for Happy Drive, we did go back with the engineers and look at their estimated costs. They had a $12,000 air leak valve in there, which we don't need on a 900-foot run. So after we removed that, that dropped the cost down too on that project from 168 to 155. So that offsets some too.
All right, thank you. I follow what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And Harry Tobacco still on this one too?
Yeah, 12.5% of the tobacco is still in there. One because water, you know.
Okay.
It's still in there,
I think.
and it's still under sewer.
okay,
Okay, I'm good.
we're just gonna go down to the sanitation department because that was the other issue. It was at a deficit, so, Thomas made some changes as well, and now we're 6,500 in the positive, so that's great. And then, so if you wanna go ahead and explain what you changed,
In the
Thomas.
sanitation, there's line 33, the second and third line, sanitation user fees and the dumpster fees. We did the same thing we did with the water, we went back and looked at the total number of counts prior to the storm, what we currently had, what we projected to be. Again, we projected low at the first budget round, now that we set back and looked at the numbers, we've adjusted the numbers up. I want to say it's 25 connections for sanitation and 5 for the dumpster fees. Now, we all, dumpster fees, remember, that's gonna be commercial green dumpsters. User fees is your regular residential garbage pickup. So we adjusted in numbers and was able to bring it to the positive.
And this is, you budgeted 2 more million?
Yes, sir, there's 2 full-time sanitation workers budgeted in this.
You think we need them?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Well, I still don't know about the slingers, he did 2 men he wanted.
In essence, what we had before the storm was we were hauling trash from behind homes. During the storm and after the storm, we stopped hauling from behind the homes, and it becomes a little bit more efficient to pick up from in front of the home than behind the home. As the homes are being put back in place and the number of people are coming into the city and using the city, and now that the city wants to go back to picking up from behind homes and condos, literally we have 2 people picking up everything behind the home, and it takes a good bit more time to pick up behind the home than it does in front of the home. So that's the justification for it, if the council so chooses.
And the only other issue I'd add to that, Mario, is if we have an employee that goes on vacation or is sick, there is no fill-in, we have to pull people from either utilities, water, sewer, parks and rec, somewhere else that, and then that backs that part up. So right now, there's no, if somebody's out, you're stuck.
The QLM people, they don't help you none, Tom.
Not on the sanitation truck,
But-
but you cannot use them on the sanitation truck for safety aspects.
I understand, but I was just, my curiosity is, we don't have the homes now either for me to justify 2, as you call them slingers.
No, sanitation workers are job titles, yes, slinger
That's what you called them the last meeting, and I just, you didn't have them 2 people budgeted on the first meeting. I think the last meeting you had them, and you still got them. My curiosity is, if we didn't need them on the first meeting, why do we need them now?
Jerry, just to give you an example, yesterday and today, neither one of the slingers coming in. Right now, we've got 1 man pull from the water department on 1 truck and 1 pull from park and rec on another truck. We don't even have a slinger, all we have is 2 drivers yesterday and today, and I don't know about tomorrow.
I can relate to that, Tommy, but I think that's the personnel problem that we have. I don't think that's with the budget, to me. I don't think we need two more personnel in the sanitation department, that's all I'm saying.
Well, we had at one time, we actually had 5 people. We had one extra that went with picking up garbage behind the houses, and then the other, truck run the, dumpsters. And that guy's gone, we don't no longer have him, so we're down to 4. And with the trash picking up, we figured it, just like Mr. Mario explained, it with the trash picking back up now, if anybody goes on vacation, we don't have anybody to fill in that spot. When we had the 5, you had one extra guy that could fill in the spot, where you had at least 2 people on each truck. So, and the biggest thing is when we pull people from other departments, then that backs up. If I pull them from Park and Rec, that backs up my work in Park and Rec. And if they're gone for a week on vacation, then you pull that person for a whole week, that, you know, maybe cutting grass. I do concur with them. I do think we need the 2 extra people, but that's up to y'all.
And I just wanna add to that, in the enterprise fund, it typically pays for itself. So, you know, we have the revenue that we budget, and the revenue includes the personnel costs. So we are, based on this budget, we are in the positive, so
And
it
there's
still
no rate
covers.
increases on none of this except for pass-through for sewer.
Yeah, and those are,
Well, let me ask y'all, I'm looking at, I always look at people because they're expensive, but they're also necessary. But go back to 16. You're showing the salaries there, 300,000, 294, 289, 265. How many people is that?
16, so this is the canal, okay?
There used to be 5.
Well, I'm looking at sanitation under salaries.
Oh, you're in sanitation?
I'm in sanitation, because that's where we're
Okay,
talking
I
here.
thought you said 16, sorry.
Sanitation,
16 budget year.
16
Oh,
budget year, you
16.
got 300,000. How many people is that?
There were 6 full-time employees, 5, I'm sorry.
5?
full-time employees.
That's what I thought. There's been 5
Yes, sir.
in every one of these budgets.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, are there other comments about the sanitation budget, people or numbers or, now, before I'm through, I wanna go back to what we did, Thomas, on the first 2 lines.
Yes, sir.
Last budget, we had $550,000 for the 21 budget. I'm talking about line, for just user fee.
Yes, sir.
On our last budget meeting, we had $550,000. Now it's at 568, so you thinking we're gonna have
There's gonna be an increase.
increase of customers?
It won't be back to what pre-hurricane will be, this will be just shy of that.
Okay. All right, and then dumpster fees, we had 114,000, and now you got 95, so that's almost $20,000.
For dumpster fees.
Yeah, you had 95, and now it's up to 114 on this proposed budget that we're looking at on the screen.
That's your commercial, that's
You're just saying that,
like the condo stuff, you gotta think the condos are not online yet, they're gonna increase also. So, we currently have 25 in the system that are.
we're gonna get $20,000 more
We're gonna get
dumpster
5 If
fees.
you add 5, this difference is adding 5 connections, adding 5 commercial dumpsters. 'Cause commercial
And that's,
dumpsters are
and
a lot
that's
more
where the
expensive.
20 grand difference
Yes.
is? Okay,
Yeah, commercial
I'm with-
dumpsters are a lot more expensive than residential.
okay.
And just FYI, I'm sure everybody's seen the numbers in the last meeting, last month we hauled over 250,000 pounds of garbage. So even though we don't look like we got a lot of homes here, the garbage is coming in, we are hauling a lot of garbage to the incinerator.
Gotcha.
The numbers are coming back close to what we were running prior to hurricane.
Do you have any idea why?
I guess everybody's piling into one house instead of 3 houses. So,
There are more people packing into one house than there were before, I think.
it'll be real slow now, you know.
Yeah, now, as we go into the fall, it's
Fall
gonna
season,
slop,
it won't be-
drop down a little bit, but.
Well, I don't think we need 2 extra people.
What are you are you,
Well,
is
we
your
had
suggestion?
5. I mean, if we had, Thomas said we had 5 and they got 4 now. I mean, now we want 2 more, and it was pre-hurricane, and now I mean, if we can, you know, 1 would be, after the Labor Day, I don't even see, there won't be enough people around here to even get a garbage can full of garbage. But I know we don't have to do that all the time, but I just say 1. I mean, if we're gonna give them any, just give them 1, and be, I don't know how they could, until we got back up to our capacity of, I reckon our goal is 2,500. And it's hard for me to believe we got, I think you said 1,500 to 1,600 homes. Is that what you
You
said,
gotta
Tom?
remember, you got active, you can't use your active water connections for your active, some garbage, cause on irrigation and stuff like that, you can't use the water meter connection as your sanitation custom, there's a difference in there. The sanitation's roughly, we got projected, I think it's 1,600, and right now we're at like 1,450, I think, or 1,500, we're just shy of it.
And we had 2,500 before pre-hurricane.
Sanitation, you had just over 1,800 before the hurricane. Cause you got like Beacon Hill doesn't pick up garbage, anything outside city limits. You got all your irrigation meters that doesn't pick up garbage. And then your condos, you got 1 connection, but you got 50 units. That's 50 connections, but 1 garbage can. So you can't use your water connections based on your garbage service, you have to keep them separate. Your water's usually high for your sanitation, sewer and your sanitation on connection. You gotta look at it.
You know, 1 man cost, how much, he probably cost $40,000, not plus his salary. And then what we said last budget meeting,
Is that what, $12 an hour? We're starting at
It's starting at $12 for sanitation.
So it's probably like 28, 30,000, but then that doesn't include.
that didn't include, that's why I said I thought it
About
was,
40 includes
40.
everything.
and then
Right now.
plus the site
With
overhead.
the
That's
insurance and
$40,000
everything,
we
it
can
bring it
use.
up there, yeah. But then still, it's a budget, so, you know, I guess we can hold that budget number. We don't necessarily have to hire, but we can still hold the number in the budget.
I
If
can
we're
understand
on,
that. I can go along with that, but hiring 2 more men, it's just, and this fixing to be winter time, it's just not what I think the city needs to do.
Well, I think that is I mean, if we're gonna approve the number, that's where we are now. How you feel it is sort of a separate from this, I'm not, but if we're gonna say that, yes, we're okay with the number, which includes 2, then we can get back to what are we gonna approve, what is we or the council gonna approve for Mario as far as sanitation staff? That's a sort of a separate,
I got
you follow that? To me, that's a separate
you. I
deal.
agree with that.
The way they've realigned the numbers, based on what Thomas just told us that they did, we're not in the negative. So the numbers on this page work for us for the 2021 budget year. And for me, I'm okay with these numbers. I might want to think a little more about the number of people that we're gonna approve. So I think we need to separate, Mario, at least in your mind, know that while if we approve these numbers, doesn't mean we approve yet of additional people. Does that make sense to you?
Understood.
All right, I mean, we can come back to that, and I think we ought to come back to it once we approve the budget while we're sitting here, and we need to get the table decide what we're gonna do there. I don't think we need to. All right, So, questions on sanitation budget, are we're back in the positive? No rate increase except the pass-through on any of the enterprise funds. And the millage rate is at 8 mil.
I got one on Tommy too, Rex and Parks. Tommy, you still got your 2 million in there too?
Yes.
You got the QLM people, they come back,
Well, we have 3 QLM people.
but we can't get how many?
Right, well, we can get up to whatever is available. Right now, we have 3 that's actually working. The only problem with that is we don't know for how long. They got this amount of money, this could last another 2 months and it could run out. I mean, we have no definite, we're gonna have them for 2 years, a year, 6 months, 2 months.
When are they supposed to let us know that, Mario? I mean, they gave, they reactivated the
They
program.
reactivated, but they didn't tell me for how long.
They didn't?
Did you see anything on duration?
No.
It might have been just a piecemeal, let's hold it for a little while. They went after 5 years, which is very aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, consider to have help before a hurricane for 5 years.
I will let you know.
I thought it was 2 now, I don't know where I got my information from, but, my question to Tommy is if we got the QLM working back, he got in for 2 more million, same as I was Thomas, and they sort of helped them out. I don't know why we need to.
Well, now, Jerry, the 2 men that I asked for is not new people. That is just the fill the job positions that are vacant now from people being set up or people leaving. Yeah, it's not new positions as far as, asking for extra people. It's just, when I was set up, the position I got now, that created a position in the building maintenance. I used to be in building maintenance with Ken, so it's just down to 1 person. And also, we're down 1 in the canal department, due to
Those were approved. So saying that sanitation technically had 5 approved,
Correct.
if you want to give it, and they're asking for 6 now.
Right.
1 additional. Parks and Recs, or the other side of Public Works, the 2 that's going in there were there pre-storm. If I'm making sense.
And having some flexibility on employees also allows us to do things like weekend type of work
Where you don't have overtime.
Yeah.
anytime that we bring in a person on the weekend to pick up stuff out on the beach or pick up on commercial property, they're on overtime because otherwise they're here during the week. So having a couple of extra people, which are not, they serve a purpose not only just for the everyday haul, but for the 7 days that we function under.
Okay, go ahead, Monique, on budget. Let's sort of stick to that, right? You got more questions, Carol? Okay.
So, my question is everyone good with the numbers? Did you guys get a chance to look into anything that you have any questions on?
No, I looked again. I think I'm disappointed in the 8 mills, but I understand, and I think our people will understand what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Well, I feel a little bad about the 8 mills, considering we don't get Triumph this year.
Yeah,
And, you
That's
would
right.
think if we didn't get $560,000, we would have to go up more. So I do feel,
Well,
I'd rather the 8 mills be less, but
well, still, the thing with the 8 mills is that it still give us a little cushion, which is 300 and something thousand. And this budget took in consideration not having that 523,000, so, and we are, I guess basically we still have, what up? Let me see, sorry.
where are you going, Monique? You going in a hurry, I know that.
I'm going right here to the transfer. Hold on.
First, I think you
Oh, the first part, I'm sorry.
You wanna go to the
I'm all
revenue?
over the place, I'm trying to go to lunch, that's what I'm trying to. Okay, so right here.
There you go.
Yeah, we have 194, thousand, which, I think the 8 mil for this year, I think it's a good number to work on. And then next year we can revisit that figure. That was the number that was used for last year, and what do you think, Keith?
Yeah, I think we've discussed it before, so that over will move up into that line. We presented it that way, but the actual budget's gonna have 0. And then the amount that we have here, the 194,000, will be the Hurricane Michael match. And really the whole concept of the way we did the budget this year was to try to make it, as tight as we could and get the job done, and still have something remaining that we know is, we gotta start working towards, because it's, because of the dollar amount collectively on there, we gotta start thinking about putting aside each year. There was some amount, there was 200,000 was put aside last year, so as we begin these projects, like we talked about before, there's unknowns there, and what projects we're gonna have, some of the matching percentages and all on there, so conceptually on here, that was to put some amount on there, while also balancing out a millage rate that's, tolerable and fair to citizens, right?
Once we get the audit, what could the audit change on what we're doing now?
Well, you'll see, the biggest thing, we don't have actual, 19 numbers on here. Preferably, we would have that at this point next year. We're gonna have actual numbers to work off, just better information. We're held up this year with the audit, with the transition, with turnover and such. So, the biggest thing that's gonna give us as we get that information together is a more accurate picture of where we at in terms of these overall, cash that's available in these different funds to be utilized. As of right now, without that information, we couldn't really carry over an amount until we get that, goal for the audit.
Yes.
When is that?
They're just starting their process now, so,
Yeah.
they're just starting. So we had to craft it, and we had to get it, polished enough for them to really start their process. So
And they will be virtual at first.
Yeah, and then they got the COVID thing, so they can, be limited to coming out here, so I would say, reasonably, we're talking about a couple of months, because they're just starting.
I got something to look forward to then. Couple of months.
Well, then we're into the next year, so we're getting there. We know we need better information than we have, it's just
Yes.
a process to get there, so.
Absolutely.
We're getting there.
But when we finally get caught up, then we're not gonna have this issue again. We'll be able to have an actual that's an actual.
Yes.
Actual.
Yes,
And,
that's typical.
and then that way, our proposed, we'll know more about what.
Right, that's typically all.
And that'll happen.
This to get us all more, polished in terms of this number.
But that's not gonna happen until we get the next one audited, which will be when?
As soon as you're done with 19, they should be going into 20,
So another 2 or 3 months?
Back up, yeah, hopefully by this time, we're through this audit and.
So by the time we need to do this next year, we will have had all of it done, we'll know, and we can adjust anything that we need to adjust if we have to through that
Right,
period.
well, and once we go through that, we'll know how we did from before.
Right.
Which will show how much is available from a starting point on there before we go to the budget. There's some fund balance on there, and we have insurance proceeds, we have a number of things that have occurred. We just have to quantify that number and make a decision off of it until we get that, go through all that.
And if we're fortunate, we're better than we thought and not worse than we thought.
I would just prefer to be conservative with that. With
Sure.
our information, and step out there and make things, do this and that.
Okay?
All right, so if we're good, then the only thing we need to let Monique know is that we're good with those numbers and we'll prepare for the public hearing next month.
Yes.
Because we have a September 8th workshop, I'm gonna say that's not necessary unless somebody wants to.
Are there those of us that wanna have another workshop? Or we crunched what we got and done the best we could, or we wanna go again?
I feel good with what we got.
I do too. I mean,
Well, I think this Sheridan and Darrell be the newcomers, what do they really think? I mean,
I'm going into this just like
Well, what
Okay.
we're prepared for is the public hearing, so what we're asking is, do we need to do this again before we feel like we're prepared for that? And that's all up to
Yeah.
the.
But until we have the audit done, we don't really know where we are.
Yeah, but that's not gonna be in the. Right.
Good,
And
that's
then-
right.
What would another meeting
And then,
do?
That's
Right.
what we're saying.
Yeah, right.
That's what we're saying.
but instead
well
of that,
said, Gal, well said. You can't,
That's where we were
you can't
getting
do
to.
but
That's
so
you
much
guys'
for what we got.
decision.
and then still, even though we didn't have the audit done and all these things, you know, we did use our due diligence, if that's the right word. We did
And
use our due diligence in this, like, we didn't just throw numbers all over the place,
Yeah.
right? We did some analysis and we still look at numbers that are in the system that we are not comfortable putting out there, but we had tools that we used to compare numbers, even though we're not putting it out here. So it is a better look than last year for sure and the year before. But it's a budget too, so it's kind of like, it's not the I don't wanna say real, but it's just something that guide us throughout the year. as
Okay,
far
I
as
wanna know, are
expenses.
you gonna keep us real? So we'll know where we're at?
Of course, that
Okay.
is my
You
plan.
gotta get there first.
Right,
Yeah.
after we get there, you're gonna keep us there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we
Because
don't
right
have
now, we had a lot of reclassing that we had to do. The system just, we had a lot of work that we're putting into getting things where they're supposed to be. And that's one of the reasons why we're like, we gotta get this done before the auditors come in here. Like, things were just all over the place and we were not comfortable with that. So Keith and I, we worked on getting things where they're supposed to be, getting things on the Project Hurricane Michael and, you know, all these things. So we are working on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important for those that are listening, you know, and for our citizens to know that we made a really, you guys have done a really good job catching up, because when all this started happening, we found out everything we found out. We've come a long ways, and for the citizens to know that this is about to be terminated. This is not gonna happen again. And by the time we do this next year, then we won't be asking these questions, what do we got and what are we doing? So I think the folks listening should know that.
Monique, you gonna set up the hearing? The
For-
notices, is that all that been done?
The 17th one is already, they were mailed out, the trim notices, it has it on there. So then what we have, that's already set for September 17th at 6 o'clock.
But then you have to have the final public hearing.
Right, then we have to advertise after that, and then we have to adopt the final.
Right,
which will
final.
be 5th of the
But
8th of
who-
October.
Are you
Between
gonna,
Keith and
y'all
I
gonna
and
work on
Lindsay,
getting
we'll
that?
get everything
We'll work on the
together.
advertising
Yes.
part of it.
Okay.
But that's after the tentative budget.
Right, exactly, it is.
After that.
Okay, so we're good?
Everyone
We're
good?
good here?
Sharon, are you good?
I'm good as long as you.
Next year you will be better, I
It's a little
promise.
bit easy breezy, right? Next
Yeah,
time?
next time it
All
will
right.
be smooth.
Thanks, Monique and Keith. Before we leave, let's talk a minute. I wanna sort of get something straight on the people. The number of personnel that we have excluding police, because now they're not outside the police department. And when you go to Public Works, not enterprise funds, how many people do we have now that we didn't have? Let me think how to ask you. Before Michael versus today, how many people are we short in the Public Works? Exclude enterprise funds. Sanitation, water, and sewer. Exclude those three for right now, but just Parks and Recs, canal, road. How many people are we short?
Right now, we're short 2 people. That is one person in the canal and one person in building maintenance.
Okay.
How about Mary and Philip?
They were split between, Mary was enterprise, and Philip was split between everybody, so.
Okay, so those are 2 other people, just if we're.
All right, but we have a Public Works
technically, me and Tommy filled Mary Phillips' position.
That's right. So the two people we're short are in the budget, in your budget for Public Works.
That's correct.
Okay, which brings us back to the number that we had. Now, if you go over to the enterprise funds, we have the same number of people except for the one, we're one short in the sanitation department. We had 5, we only got 4 now. Same with water,
Water, we actually have 1 extra now, because we have been in our department now, so that technically offsets your 2. Water used to have only, before the storm, it was myself, Kevin, Dale, and Mary. Mary left, we brought Jermaine on, and then, I'm sorry, Kevin left, we brought Jermaine on. And then Mary left, I was promoted up, Garrett filled my spot. So Garrett come off of sanitation at the time, he was on sanitation. Then you had myself, Garrett, Jermaine, and Dave. We had to bring Kevin back last year because I was the only operator and we was kind of twisted to bring another
Okay.
operator back. So that made the 5th person. So technically he filled the sanitation position, but he wasn't in sanitation, he was in water. When Dale got sick past February, we had to have somebody to fill his spot. Technically, we brought, that's where Tommy Lawson, we took Ben and put him in canal, so water, so we'd have a working person. So technically, water has a total of 7 full-time employees instead of 4 like it used to, correct? So technically, that position that Jonathan Williams vacated in sanitation was technically replaced by Kevin. And until this past year, he was technically paid out.
so y'all have more people than you had.
In water and sewer, less than sanitation. That's why we have to add 2 full-time employees. They're not there. When you add up everybody in public works, you have 21. We're asking for 23 total. Right now, we only have 21 slots available. 19 of them are filled. This 2 makes 21, the 2 for sanitation will make 23. So 2 positions technically have to be, 2 slots have to be created to get what we want.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
It's easier to look
That
at
makes
the
sense.
overall picture than it is trying to break it down between the
Okay,
parts.
all right, I'm good. I was trying to say it in the way I
Yeah,
knew
have
what we
21
had,
slots, 19
but that makes more
filled.
sense. That makes more
23
sense.
technically won't.
I have a question, since you'll be leaving at some point, and we,
No, next one was next Tuesday. How do you think that day?
okay, so then Kevin will be here by himself, the only one with certificate.
He'll be the only licensed operator.
The only licensed operator. Do we need to be looking for somebody that has that ability so that we,
Essentially,
We have to have another person that has
the
this.
state's gonna dictate you having to have an operator. Because right now, if Kevin was to go on vacation, or if God forbid he got sick, it's screwed. And that's what happened when Mary left and I was here. That's why Mary had to come in and fill in for me a few times when my wife got sick. Now, I did talk to Mario, just a side note about me leaving. If Kevin needs off for a weekend, my job is 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I'm off on weekends. I don't have to work weekends. I'll be willing, if Kevin needs help on the weekend part, Saturday, Sunday, to come by and sign the books. I'm still a licensed operator. I just won't be the chief operator anymore. He'll be chief operator. Until y'all get an operator on staff, so he's not working 7 days a week.
okay.
So that offer is there, if,
But that's the person we need to go after. We gotta have
You
that
need to have
person.
Class C operators, what you gotta have.
Okay.
And the state is gonna dictate that.
Well, why don't we, let's talk about what Jerry's brought up, and I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but on these 2 sanitation workers. Is anybody else have a thought about if you want them or don't want them or don't? They're in the budget. The money's in the budget. Is there others? Jerry, I think your final decision, you said 1. You were comfortable with 1. I
But to
think.
me, yeah, 1, but it's cost the city around $40,000 plus their salary. Plus the salary per person. I think that's what I've heard it needs
It's
to be.
40,000 including the salary. The limited rate's about 40,000 per employee.
Yeah, includes
The
the
salary's only like 28,000. And then you gotta add
Okay,
benefits.
that's 68,000. I'm looking at after Labor Day. And then I'm looking again around July again too, so. To me, 1's a sufficient. Plus the QLM workers are coming back. I know you can't use them for it, but maybe they could do some other jobs. And we'd love to get them, and I just think, to me, I think we're trying to hire too many people. That's my opinion. I think one would be sufficient, even with the 4. But we need at least 2 to catch up, to get back where we were. With 21, we got 19 now, so if we just hire 2 out of 4, is what I'm saying. I just said, the total picture would be higher than 2 out of 4 that they want.
Okay, question. On this salary, how much is paid out of the enterprise fund and how much is paid out of the city?
General fund pays for public works and enterprise fund pays for the, if you're in the water, sewer, sanitation department, that pays out of the enterprise. Now, how they split it up, I have no idea. I tried to understand that one time.
Proposed in sanitation is 100% sanitation.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They're not split. Sanitation is the only part that's not split any other way. Water, sewer, they're split 50-50. And in enterprise, general fund, but sanitation, the 2 that are in there right now is 100% sanitation. It's not coming out any other department.
Okay, so,
And I wanna say it's like 68,000 for 2 full-time employees. With, with the maximum, you get family insurance and everything. It could be cheaper based on the insurance they take out. So,
And then during the winter months, I don't know what we're gonna do with them. I know we found something for them to do, but they can, but, I'm looking at that fall season against the July, our heavy season.
I'm just, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out if the enterprise fund pays their salary. And you say it costs the city. It costs the enterprise fund, not the city.
Not the general fund.
General fund.
Yeah, general fund is separate from the enterprise.
Right.
But the customers still pay, our customers, our citizens still pay for that, those people.
The one that gets the service.
Yeah, sure. I'm okay with one, and if we need another one, then come to us, but I think we need another sanitation worker. I see. And if something happens and the budget supports it, we can look at it, but just to stay starting in October 1st, to add another one, I'm good with that, but not to add 2.
Well, can I ask a question? When we find the other fella or gal with the certificate, then
Sanitation for water.
for water,
That position exists because Kevin's taking my slot, that opens Kevin's slot up, so that's.
what I'm saying is when we fill that, then that doesn't give us an extra person that we can put in
No,
sanitation.
that doesn't.
Just replacing
Okay.
money.
Right, okay,
Filling.
because we got
Well,
one,
technically,
because we got one
we're all
leaving.
18, so-
Right. Okay, all right. I'm good with one.
What? Okay, Sharon, you got a,
I'm good
Opinion?
with 1, 2. I'm just gonna agree with all of that.
Well, we got the fall
We know
coming
where
up.
we are, yeah, and it's almost September now.
Mhm.
all right. Mario, that make the,
We'll work with it.
make it clear, and then as time, if you feel like something's not right, or you need to come to us, say, look, here's what's going on,
If spring comes along and we're
and
running
say,
behind.
right behind,
we'll
and
let you
then
know.
we'll deal with it.
One other thing that I'd like to put out too, for our residents, I know that you gotta put your trash can, you can't put them out at the road in your fancy containers, and that's back at the house. And I put mine back where it was, and it, I hate to tell everybody how dense I am, but it didn't occur to me that I could still take the trash cans to the road, because I thought they were supposed to come back there and get them, and I didn't wanna, being a council member, I didn't, but we can tell the people, look, if you wanna help your city out, and you have the time, you're here, on trash day, bring your trash still forward, and then that will cut down on the amount of time that they're spending, which means that everybody gets it done quicker, and then if we have heavy loads, that'll help those guys out. So, can we like, do a mailer and put it in people's mailboxes or something? Because most people are not gonna see Facebook and not gonna go look at the website.
Here's the odd part. So let's say that you're a vacationer
Yeah,
and you put the garbage out.
right,
If our hauler finds the garbage out, he's gonna tend to leave the garbage out. Versus if you leave it in the back, he'll put it back in the back.
okay,
That's where the confusion is really gonna come in. The resident that puts it out gets that can right back at the same spot, and that resident will take it and put it back where it belongs.
right,
It's that vacationer that puts it out that our hauler won't know to put it back behind the house.
right, okay.
That's the odd part, and putting that in writing is awkward. The resident should know, and I guess we can put this out. The residents, if you live in the house and you're there and have the ability to put the garbage out and bring it back in, it definitely helps out the city.
Okay,
But the rule is a rule, and that rule, all it says is, you can put your trash out, but it has to be behind your house at the end of the day.
We ready to go? I'm waiting to look, last time I cut you off, I got chastised, I'm not gonna do that again.
No, I'm ready. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, motion for adjournment.
So
Keith,
moved.
Monique, thank you and Mario, good job. All right. Yeah, that's what started it, Darryl, the whole thing.